Shotzi here, continuing with showing how to reproduce. If you can see that I showed you this last time, this was this photograph of Sean Connery. And I drew some grid lines on it and talked about those a couple of weeks ago. And I also identified dark and light shapes using the same photograph. And now what I'm doing is I'm making use of these visually to try to reproduce. So to fine tune this thing a little bit up here, just make the lines a little tiny bit darker and get that dark shape. I'm just using these hatches or hatch lines, and then it comes down over here, and I know it lines up with down this way. So his face comes down like this and over like that. So I'm making slight modifications. As always, be willing to make changes. Don't have to not beholden to anything you put down. That's why with pencil particularly, staying very light. And now this eye socket is kind of in this area. So I see it right about over here. It comes to about there, but it lines up like that on my grid line. So let's get that back in there a little bit darker. And I'm still staying, let's call it cross hatching, just to make it so it's visible to me. There's a dark shape coming down like this. Goes under the nose, the cast shadow of the nose. Kind of comes up here like that, over there, and goes over this eye socket. And get that in. I'm just doing the large shape, and that kind of comes around over here. It kind of comes down over here. Under the neck here, under the chin. This is all part of that big dark shape. Came down over here, and that curves around for this other big dark shape, which is his hair over here. So not all the hair, just the dark part of the hair. Get that ear in. You know, the hair comes a little bit higher. It's just not as dark up here. But these are kind of mid. I remember I talked about dark and light. You can divide dark and light into different grades. The darkest you can call 5, and then 4, 3, 2, 1 being the lightest. So I have the nose here, and then this other shape that's under the mouth lines up over here somewhere. I'm getting the whole shape, which includes his upper lip, lower lip, and even the area under the lower lip, which is traditionally dark. By staying very light, I'm not worried about needing an eraser or anything at any point in time. And so this one now comes down to it over there, and this is this over here. And that comes up over here, and there's where that ear goes, the hair back there. Now I can still get a little bit of a suit in. Put this a bit low on the page. I'm not really worried about that. The other part comes over here. There's a very light shape over there. And here's a dark one, which I have to know is his tie. His suit jacket is here with the white collar. And there's a grayer collar over here. And this comes down. So I will continue with this, but I hope what you're seeing is I'm continuing to build and build using those large dark shapes and using those grid relationships between the left side of the eye, the right side of the eye, the mouth, the nose, etc., etc. So thank you. Stay tuned. I will have another installment of this coming up next week.